Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Mars, square opposition, or inconjunct one's natal Chiron. When we're talking about transits that involve Mars, this can be about energy, vitality, courage, fortitude, our drive, motivation, anger, acrimony, initiative, and enterprise. Now, when you have transits, basically mean when transit Mars is basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Chiron. I'll elaborate on that when you're talking about the, as far as basically adverse aspect. The thing is that squares and oppositions, of course, are adverse aspects or negative aspects in astrology. An inconjunct aspect can be seen as a neutral aspect, but it does often require an adjustment, a transition, which of course can have some tension and may cause some exasperation in the process. So basically, adverse aspect, I would say collectively with these transits. Now, when you have basically, when you have transit Mars basically making an adverse aspect to one's natal Chiron, it may manifest in the energy, vitality, courage, fortitude, drive, anger, acrimony, initiative, and enterprise. These things may conflict with physical and emotional wounds. It may be where you simply don't feel like you have the initiative to really do things. Really, as far as any care, for your, for anything as far as a physical and emotional wound. If the natal Chiron is in Pisces, as an example, it might be something with the feet or the toes that may need something done, even if it's just simply getting like an MRI or an X-ray, or it's something where there's some healing process or rehab that's connected with it that you haven't, taken care of. It could be something where maybe you procrastinate on, you don't have the drive or the motivation to do anything about it at this time. Emotional wounds can come from, like in my case, I have Chiron in Aries in my 12th house of my natal chart. It might be, not having, maybe lacking the courage or the drive to do anything about, maybe healing the emotional suffering I may have connected with, maybe lacking, the initiative, just in general, lacking aggressiveness or initiative or, enterprise in terms of maybe working through my limitations, or even the courage or fortitude to do so, or even confront, hidden adversaries, people that might really not be my friends but are posing as them. Now, another thing about this transit as well is that, of course, this could be, suffering in general. It could be a physical. Mars could be connected, physical injuries and even surgery. And these things may cause you might be suffering more than usual as a result of this. If the natal Chiron is in Aquarius, it could be something, with the ankles or the shins or lower legs. It could be circulation issues or something with the nerves. It might be like shock sensations. Chiron is also associated with the pain that runs the deepest in our lives. Chiron is in Taurus, as an example. It could be something, monetary, or it might be some issues with self-esteem or self-worth, or lack of persistence or patience in matters. Somebody has their natal Chiron and Taurus in their 12th house, as an example. It could be maybe lacking the courage and fortitude to even confront, these issues connected with perhaps monetary issues that are part of one's secret sorrows, or maybe being overly stubborn. That might be the self-undoing, is another example of Chiron and Taurus in the 12th house. Now, Chiron is also associated with ineptitude. It could be where, we may be in an area in life where we feel at least we're inept in, or we might actually be inept in. It could be a time where you become a little bit more angry over these issues at this time. It could be, lacking the drive or initiative to work on them at this time. At this point, when you have this transit, you might be more angry at these things that you feel inept at. If natal Chiron is in the zodiac sign Cancer and or the 4th house, it could be over family situation or home situation at this time. Maybe there's something with the ancestry that is that's causing, it might even be causing more anger. It could be more emotional turmoil at this time. Uh, thing is, I mean, Chiron is connected, with trauma and abuse, and it might be a time too where there may be maybe more anger issues or being angry over something traumatic that has transpired. It could be something that just recently happened, or even something from the past, going back to zodiac sign Chiron. I mean zodiac sign Cancer. If Cancer is involved, it might be something lamenting over some really strong past hurt that maybe you have trouble getting over. Um, some cases this can even be, I mean, Chiron is about, it can be connected with abuse, and it doesn't limit it to, emotional or physical. It could be, I would say, could be sexual as well. It can manifest in a number of ways. These issues might cause, more upsetment, more agitation at this time, more so than usual. And you may not have, I mean, Mars is connected with enthusiasm, exuberance, and you might not have that, that enthusiasm, that drive, that motivation to help and heal others at this time. If it's something you have been doing, and say, if Chiron is in natal Chiron is in Aquarius, it could be, through selfless or altruistic acts, or doing things, really without, expecting, being reciprocated. Some examples: humanitarian efforts. It can be something where you don't, where you may have not have that enthusiasm to be doing, um, doing so at this time. Or going back to natal Chiron and Aries in the 12th house again as another example, it could be fighting, for those less fortunate and people that are in limiting, situations. And maybe this is a time where you just don't have that enthusiasm to perhaps do that at this time. And anyway, um, it can also be, I mean, when you look at this transit as well, I mean, Chiron could be connected with anguish or weakness that we may have, and these things, could be some battle or some contentious situation somehow is exacerbating, maybe some weakness that we feel we may have. Going back again to Taurus, and say if natal Chiron is in Taurus and or the second house, it could be some battle, some argument that takes place that might exacerbate your own. It could be some, feeling of, lack of self-worth or self-esteem. Might make you feel worse as far as how you feel about yourself at this time. Now, another way, this transit, again, reiterating what I said previously, it may not be overly motivated or driven to help and heal others at this time. Say if the natal Chiron is in Pisces in the 11th house as an example. It could be dealing, helping, maybe somebody deal with betrayal or deception with friends at this time. And remember, Chiron is the wounded healer. It can be ways we could help others in that we are unable to help ourselves in. But anyway, and another way how this transit may be expressed, it could be a contentious, situation you may be involved in, may adversely affect maybe some emotional wounds or even physical ones. I mean, you could have certain, I believe it's been proven medically that there can be, stress involved in one's life may exacerbate, maybe some physical pain. This could be the case in this point if you have this transit at this time. Say if the transit Mars is in the zodiac sign Cancer in the 3rd house as an example, it could be maybe trying to deal with a temperamental or moody or very clingy or overly protective, which is Cancer. It could be a sibling, a cousin, a neighbor, someone prominent in your short journeys, maybe somebody that was prominent in your early education, like a classmate, and that would be connected with the 3rd house. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, it could also be more difficult to address, those issues, confront and address the issues that can be, you may feel inept in. Say if the natal Chiron is in Gemini in the second house as an example, it may have something to do with expressing versatility in making money, and maybe diversifying, things of as far as generating income, finding manifold ways to make money. And maybe you're just having trouble at this time doing so, and it might be, might be causing more anger and upsetment, and maybe the lack of courage to even confront those issues. Now, another thing too is that, remember that Mars could be connected with a physical injury, could be surgery in some isolated cases. And if so, if it's applying to you right now, these things might be causing more suffering than normal at this time. If Mars, transit Mars is in Scorpio as an example, it could be something with the bladder, the colon, the prostate, the reproductive system. Uh, and it may be where you might be angry, or over some kind of, it could be some weakness or the deepest pain that you may be enduring at this time. Now, going back to my example, like with me, again, I have my natal Chiron in Aries in the 12th house of my natal chart. It could be some kind of lack of, becoming angry or festering, perhaps over having a lack of fortitude or courage to perhaps confront people that were maybe posing as friends that were secretly, they were hidden adversaries, or maybe just being aggressive and courageous in trying to tackle my own limitations and it could be something where, where maybe the lack of aggression, which could be, Chiron and Aries, may have something to do, with the limitations, or it's something with self-undoing, because that could be connected with the 12th house. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Leonard saying, stay well.